All right, good people. Hey, everyone, welcome back to another episode of Open Open Court Discussion live in the Counselor's Corner. I am your host, David Lorenzo Glover, aka the Controversial Counselor. Joining me is my co-host, the Big Bad Wolf, Herb Lewis.
Oh,
All right, tonight, March 9th, 9 p.m. EST, we will be covering the topic, the big decision, weighing your options. After high school, the world opens up, either maybe college, military, or jumping straight into a job. Each path has its ups and downs. Tonight, we're breaking it down, what to consider, what to weigh, and how to decide what's right for you. Come on, let's get it and dive in. Please like and share our video, and don't forget to tell a friend to tell another friend to please subscribe to the YouTube channel, The Controversial Counselor. So, all right, here we go. What's going on? First of all, again, I'm gonna acknowledge publicly. Shout out to my mother. Just celebrated her 74th birthday, so that's a blessing. And we had a good time. Got with the family, and it's always a good time. I got a funny video to share and post whatever too. Had a little dance off with one of my cousins. I'm not a dancer, so but I won unanimously based on the people that were there. So that stay tuned for that. And know that we were just joking and clowning. No, he might have been for real. That might be the way he really danced. So, but nevertheless,
oh,
nevertheless, I won. And again, shout out to my mother. Also, a pre shout out to my aunt. We call her Merck. Her birthday is tomorrow. So happy birthday to you. So, two important fixtures in my life. Wouldn't be where I am without my mother, my aunts. And that's a story I always been telling since, especially going publicly and doing podcasts, broadcasts. Without them, I don't know where I would be. So shout out to them again. It's been many more years, hopefully many more years and many more blessings to you. For hey, we got to keep on making more memories. Uh, Big Bad Wolf, anything good with you?
nah, man. Just I'm taking a list of all the things I got to do around the house, the property, man, and start start stacking money for it. I mean, other than that, nah, it's business as usual. And that for me, that's a good thing. I-87. Oh, Albany area. What's going on in Albany? Basketball or yeah, man. Stay safe out there. At least you don't have to worry about the weather. Acting up.
Yeah, peace to you, Dr. Anwar. Headed to Albany. Yeah, some good weather today here. I know, I mean, might have been there too. I had left there, but
Yeah, it was.
like
Yeah, it was fine.
75. And I think tomorrow it's going to be close to like 80 here. But I mean, I think that's fool's gold. I think it's a setup for another storm.
Ooh, good luck to him, man. Yeah, man. That's a hell of an undertaking. Any
Yeah,
any type of surgery, but that especially.
yeah, definitely good luck to him, and much blessings to that. And I hope everything goes well and have a speedy recovery.
Yeah, man.
All
That's one
right.
thing I got to. Not especially with the weather getting better, man. I got to give me a new set of rollerblades. Get the bike tuned up, man. And I'm gonna be on that joint, be on those joints heavy this summer because this weight has got to go. I can't be
Yeah,
walking around looking like this for much longer. It's just not a. It's not the wolf way.
I hope the Wolfway ain't trying to purchase that motorcycle.
No, I'm still get, I'm gonna still get the motorcycle. I'm gonna still get. I told my older brother today. He's like, "Oh man," he sounded like you.
Like, right, sit your old ass down somewhere.
Now, one of my other brothers has one. So, but where he is, the roads are they're much more conducive to riding a motorcycle than here, man. Hit a pothole here, I might end up with worse than a sprain in the finger. I end up with a broken back or something because these potholes they swallow an SUV.
It's bad. It's bad everywhere with these potholes. But uh, jump into this subject area, and it's more so. Well, I can't say there's a lot of people still weighing their decisions. But I know people our age kind of maybe at the tail end of their um, careers, but for younger people that's tuning in, or people in their still maybe their 20s, 30s, there still may be something to think about as far as which route you would go. And when you think about college, I look at things differently now than um, I used to back when I was life after high school. All I thought about was the only way to do it is college. The only way to do it is go to college campus, enjoy that. But times have changed, and after being in education for 32 years, man, I don't know how much. I don't know how much good I have to say about that whole product or the whole curriculum or this whole system. But it's I've been saying the same thing for years. But I, when I think back to my time, I think as it was getting closer, it was when I think about my like family dynamics. I had most of my family members, like my grandfathers, my aunts, they end up getting into the work industry, like working at plants. And for that time, they
Mhm.
were making good money. Good money at homes, cars, nice saving accounts, and looked like they never was hurting for anything. And it seemed like one of my aunts, even though she had got her associates at the time, she would say stuff to kind of want to push me towards working in a plant. But I knew that wasn't the case for me, any type of manual labor like that, because I think back to one of my summer jobs that I had, and that was mainly cleaning up like the Highland area, raking and chopping weeds and doing stuff like that. And my supervisor at the time, uh, he must have seen my mother out, and he was like, "Boy, I tell you, he must be going to college or something, because that's a sorry motherfucker." And I wanted to be sorry, but because I was like, "Yo, it's hot out here. I ain't trying to really do this." And I've told this story before. Well, unfortunately, that was not a good example to be a supervisor, but he had his thing for Wally Wally, Wild Irish Rose. So, and one of the things, at that time, it used to cost $1.10. So early in the summer, he was like, well, if anybody got $1.10, when we go home, when we break for lunch, you can just go home and stay there, and then come meet us at the office at 4:30 and sign out. So I'm like, huh? What? So I already didn't want to be there. So it didn't.
Enterprising young people
It,
found a way.
it wasn't hard to add it up. Oh, 110 times 5. Oh, 550. So if I give you 550 a week for your wild Irish rolls, I only got to work a half a day. And then you're like, yep, shit, paid in advance. Monday, here you go. Here you go. And to one time, I don't know if my mother's shift changed or whatever, but she just happened to be there one time. And she's like, and I think, well, either she worked 3 to 11, but at one point she was like, she would be there, and she knew that I would come home for lunch and then would leave. But one day I just was chilling, and she's like, "Don't you got to go back to work?" Nah, And then she's like, "What do you mean?" And then I was like, I told her the deal. Now that don't make no sense. Whatever. You gonna mess around and get fired? I'm like, yo, chill. Just like chill. Like and she's like, cause of course, at the time, that's when you became independent and start buying your own school clothes. Cause I forgot what we used to get paid. Oh, I think a whopping. I remember these figures: 217. Well, you had to seem
Mhm.
like you worked 2-3 weeks in a hole, and then you would end up with like maybe three or four checks, maybe three checks
Yeah.
during the summer, then one would you would get during the school year, your last one. So she was like, "You can mess up your school clothes money if you want to," and but I don't think I was really worried about it because I knew my grandparents they would have bought me some, but I'm sure I would have got an earful if I'd have lost my job. But needless to say, I didn't lose it. That deal stood for like maybe 2-3 weeks, and that's what I did. Went home at lunchtime, met them at the office, signed out, and I paid my 550 faithfully, whatever. So that was that part. But then, like I said, at one point I was thinking about the military because some of my other family members they were in the, active in the army, and I think me and my one of my buddies we talked about it, but we took the ASVAB. I did well on it. He didn't. And but then having a conversation with my cousin, and she was telling me all the things that you had to do, like be out in the field, like throw grenades and whatever the little how they used to have to eat the little packets of food or something,
MREs.
survival when you be out there. And I was like, start
Hold on.
getting a real nervous jitter in my stomach.
No, those were K rations. They had K rations back then.
Yeah. So whatever she said, I got nervous, and I was like, even though I passed the ASVAB, I said, I am not freaking going to the military. I'm not going. So I ruled that out, and then it was the college thing. But I'll tell more about that as we go on throughout, and I'll give Herb the opportunity, to get
No,
his
that's
introduction
an interesting
page.
point because it gave us as teens a taste of what actually being employed was going to entail. So you got the manual labor, you got the janitorial because the matter of fact, working down here where the Department of Social Services, me and shout out to my man Carnell Birch, we were doing maintenance then. So clean up, whatever needed to be done down there. We couldn't cut grass because they were considered power tools. We weren't old enough. So, the little things we had. We sat in the office most of the time just cracking jokes. We'd fall asleep. We'd get the the they call them smelling salts, but it was actually um ammonia capsules and wake each other up. Stun the hell out. What the hell? So that's a lot of what we didn't like. Dr. Dunbar said, we lived through deindustrialization. So even when we got to high school, you talk about career day, um, into your junior years when your guidance counselor will talk to you about, well, what are your plans for the future? Because you essentially only have another year before you were out of here. And the thought was more on, I don't have to do this anymore. I don't have to get up at 6:30. I don't have to sit and listen to a teacher and be prepared and do homework. You thinking freedom. You're not thinking I gotta go out in the world now and I gotta elbow and bang with adults and make some pennies. And of course, the cost of living was much, much cheaper then. So you could go out and hell work at a fast food restaurant. If you had another friend with you, hell, y'all could go out and work two jobs. You didn't necessarily have to be full time to earn a living. I mean, that's just what it was. The minimum wage was 365. Going to the plant, it depends on at least here in Niagara Falls. There was some that was still viable. If you're talking about going to places like Harrison, yeah, those jobs, yeah. you weren't getting in those jobs because, like you said, deindustrialization was starting to take a hold, and it really grabbed a hold. And places
Well,
like Lockport were hurt because I remember it seemed like everybody that I knew, and I knew some people out there that lived in Lockport because I was out in Alcott for some time. It seemed like everybody worked at Harrison, or Harrison Radiator,
yeah,
Harrison
they
Radiator.
did, and their kids would work there like during the summer, then get
Yeah,
put on, and then
yeah.
many of them like decide to stay on, and once
Mhm.
they graduated from college or whatever, they went right back there because the money was good, and that's what they end up doing.
And that's a pivotal link that we'll get into a little later. But absolutely, so you got that link, and then because I was fortunate when I was academically dismissed from Buffalo State College, I was working on the weekends, and I was waiting tables. So for me, it was just an easy transition. I was like, okay, well, I'm not going to school anymore. I need full time. Boom, full time. So I didn't miss anything in terms of finances from not finishing school and going into the workforce because my setup is unique, and I think this aided me. When I graduated high school, I was already working 25 to 30 hours because I was over the age of the minimum threshold for hours work, or workable hours rather. So if you were underage, you can only work 15, 20 hours because then you were up in the state law. I was 19, 20. So it was like laws don't apply to him. He's essentially a fully functional adult. And I was staying with my brother at the time before I moved back home with my mother. So shoot, I had more money than the average person my age, and I was still in high school. So, you talk about going out and buying your clothes for school. Hell, I was doing that year round. So, whatever I needed to do, I got done. So I had a step on a lot of my peers, at least my class cohorts, in terms of what it was like to actually having to provide. Now, I didn't move out fully till I was 27, but by then I had a full grasp on all the things that you needed to do in order to be, sufficient. And I think a lot of the kids coming out of high school today, they don't have that. Most of them will never see a summer job unless their parents can get somewhere to get them intern. Even though most interns are free, they get the exposure, and I think that's the number one thing is they understand the routine, the grind, what it's going to take to work for 45, 50 years, and with retirement and social security going up, that's only going to get longer. So they may work multiple jobs. They may start out going to college, they may graduate at 22, 23, 24, and then get into the workforce and then find out either the job's not for them or they're not cut out for it. And they say, I got to do this for how many years? And they're just like, man, I don't think I can make it. They say, there's got to be something else in the world for me to do than this. So that's why some opt for the military. That's why some opt for, what they call the gig economy or side hustles, or they don't want to do it. And then you talk about having kids, buying a house. They're just like, no, I'm just gonna stay at home with my parents, man. It's just easier, and I can't fault them for it. I understand the people that see them and say they're lazy, they're not driven. Like I said last week, society dictates a lot of what we do. We just don't think about it at our age because we were kind of pushed into it. Dr. Dunbar said that. His first job was at Denny's, and that's where I was working at when I was going to Buffalo State, was at Denny's. Except I slid up to the midnight shift, which is why I work midnights now. It was just an easy transition for me. I didn't have to fight for those hours. Nobody wanted them, and the money was good. I was in the summertime. I was bringing in about 600 a week, and then I started to realize something. I said, okay, I have to make sure that I have enough money when business is slow to when I'm only bringing in $30 a night to cover my rent, utilities, and things of that nature. And at the time, I had a car, but the car was paid off. It was mechanically sound. So those are all the intrinsic lessons that I learned, even by having a job like that, that these kids don't get. So I mean, and you can't really teach that in school. We talk about wraparound services. They're just some things that you need to be exposed to in order to have some knowledge and be effective at dealing with it. But I'll let Dave get back in here.
Yeah, it was a lot of life lessons learned with all of that because again, I had summer jobs, but then I had ended up going on to college and I had went to the summer program, the EOP or NUOP program. So of course I was irritated about that. I think I talked about a couple weeks ago that literally maybe a week after graduation I had to didn't get no break or anything and end up having to start the summer program, which was shit, I think about 6 weeks. I think we got out might have been done with it like early August, so I might have had a few weeks in between time before school started, which was a good experience too. I was glad that I had that experience because when the school started, I knew where everything was at. I was kind of acclimated and was um, comfortable in at the school. But then once I completed my freshman year, which wasn't the greatest year academically because I kind of struggled. I had my major was marketing and I had like accounting, economics, and maybe like calculus all in one one semester. And math used to be my thing and I think I talked about that last week with the professor I had that kind of made me have a dislike for math at that time. So I didn't do too well. But anyways, going into the summer, I was like, damn, I need a job. I'm gonna have to have a job to work to have some money. I can't keep relying on my mother, and it was a struggle for my mother anyways, because she had 4 kids. But a lot of times my grandparents would pick up the slack for me, but I didn't really want to rely on them because I wanted to be growing to be a young man that I wanted to have my own money. Don't get me wrong, they still helped me out throughout, but I end up one of my boys was working at Deacon Mills. Now he was killing it, working. He might have been working 60, 70 hours up in there. He ended up getting the car and everything, so he kind of put me on. But I got put on to the graveyard shift, which
Mm-hmm.
wasn't good because now I'm 18 years old. Well, I would be turning 19 that summer. And when you're supposed to be out having fun, uh, partying, doing whatever, I had to freaking leave every time somewhere early to maybe lay down for an hour or two and then go to work at 4. So I'm rolling bread up in there, half sleep, probably smelling like alcohol. and it was the worst. And my boy, he still worked there. He kind of put on a lot of people, but they came in like at 8. So they still were after the spots were closed, they still can go home and get like 3, 4 hours of sleep. I would like, okay, I gotta go like at 12, 1 o'clock, and then maybe lay down to like 3 something. And then I didn't have a car, so I would have to walk to work at 3 something in the morning and roll bread. And boy, oh boy, that was tough. But then I stayed on like during the weekends, and I would just work there on the weekends. And they still kind of wanted me to come in early, and then I had to negotiate. Like, listen, after being in school all week, I'm not coming in here at no 7 8. So I think my original shifts were supposed to have been like I don't know 8 to 4, 9 to 5, but I suddenly reduced that down to maybe like 9 to 2 or something, and so I can get out of there. I was like, I got papers to write, this and that, so it became it became you had to figure out time management, but still
Mm-hmm.
trying to make a little money because I that money was like spending money, just like shit during the week, ordering pizza, or maybe we'll decide to like chip in and get drinks or something, or whatever the case is. I always wanted to have some money, but again, thank God for my grandmother. Worked at now university, and it was funny. She was like a dishwasher, so I think I've told this story before. So it'd be some days I'll be broke up there, and I'm like, damn, I'm broke. And she worked in there, so you would have to put your tray in, and lines of people going through, handing in their putting in their tray, and she worked there, but she knew my hands. So when I would put my tray through there, she would like peep down. Hey boy, ain't seen you in a minute. How you doing? Come on back in here. And uh I would go back into the dishwasher room, and she always would have money balled up in like those paper towels, the brown ones.
Yeah.
And she would have money wrapped up in it. And then when I go back to the table, open it up, it'd be like $40, $50. And I'm like, man, I'm back. I'm back.
Yeah.
People's, my fellas, and some of the people, they're like, you are so lucky. That is one of my boys, he worked for in the cafeteria too. He's like, man, your grandmother loves you. She always asking where you at, how you doing. She ain't seen you. And he was like, man, you blessed, Dave, to have that. And she must have knew. She knew by my hands, but she must knew like he's broke or something going on. And she would always have. I would always get 40 or 50. Now, mind you, this how thoughtful she was too, because at the time I had you know, I was dealing with some girl who was my girlfriend at the time, and she would tell me, make sure you give her something, and I'd be like, God, damn, like, and she would ask. So if I had 40 or 50, if I had 50, she would expect that I would give her at least 20 of it. And I'm like,
Never change.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, now my money went from 50 to 30, whatever. And she's like, now, do right by people, because I'm going to ask her. I'm going to see her. And you better have gave it to her. And I was like, okay, yeah. But I knew to give it to her because I never wanted to like lie or disappoint my grandmother. So that that struggle. And then also I ended up working at like the Comfort Inn washing dishes, and then it was a reoccurring theme with that, because I'm like, oh, there's dishes and shit like this shit. Every time you get down to nothing, then here they come with them old great things with all these damn dishes, and you looking at the clock like, damn, I'm all caught up. And so the chef would be like, "Boy, you move too slow." But I was in college at that time. Oh, I know you must go have an office job, because he would say, "Boy, you move so slow. You about as sorry, right?" And I was like, "Everybody keep calling me sorry. Everybody keep calling me sorry, whatever." So I just knew those type of jobs was not for me. But it was a reoccurring theme with these older black men who was trying to put me down, and instead of lifting me up, calling me sorry.
And what's funny about that story? I think that's at least most black men who get into the restaurant. I think that's their avenue of interest, because I started watching dishes at some people from Niagara Falls will remember as the old J.P. Morgan, which is now not even existent. The Cataract House. I started washing dishes there, and then moved into the front of the house. Where I started waiting tables, doing banquets. Then moving to waiting tables because they were slammed. Then was in the pinch. I said, look, I can go out there and take an order or two. And there was always some question. I don't think you can do it. I don't think you cut out for it. Go back there, and they said, "Oh shoot, okay, you got an aptitude for this," and left the back of the house behind to the front of the house. And for me, being as charismatic as I am now, even then, that's where the money was. It was like every day was a payday. You walk out, especially during the summer, the busy Friday, Saturday nights with that restaurant. She was walking around. It was $60, $70. I was like the Mortimer twins in Trading Places. Hey Mortimer, we're back. And it helped to develop essentially for what now for me personally is a work ethic. Like I'm really late. I really call off. Matter of fact, I looked at my cured hours and I got like about 140 hours. People like, man, you better use them damn things. I'm like, I don't go anywhere. I really do anything. And usually when I do, I try and plan it on my days off. So it's just peculiar. And it's been like that almost everywhere I went. But I mean, when we think about it, even though we're talking about um decisions, a lot of what Gen X and some younger Gen Zs had was the ability to build a foundation, which in terms of employment, it might be the difference between you being retained when cuts come along and you being let go, you being given a pink slip. And I think that's overlooked. And the same thing goes for college. You can't do well in college if you're not there in class. So I don't care how smart you are. I don't care how intelligent you are. If you're not there when the professor's giving a lecture, and you can't depend on somebody who's an A/B student to give you good notes, you're not gonna make it. And whether it's college, whether it's the military, because the military will get rid of you in a heartbeat if you ain't pulling your weight. And boot camp, if you can't cut it, bye. We don't need you out here, you know, because a lot of people think boot camp is they they some people, I won't say a lot of people, some people who don't really understand what boot camp is, they think boot camp is you go there and they yell at you a little bit, you do some drills, you do some running. No, a lot of people wash out of boot camp. You'll see them, they'll get their commitment letter, they might get a bonus, that bonus go to their head. 3 weeks later, they back home. You say, damn, I thought you was in the military, man. I couldn't make boot camp. Why? They lazy, they undisciplined, they can't follow orders. And if you can't follow orders in boot camp, which is the absolute most basic thing that any military recruit is going to do, I don't care if you go ROTC, which is Reserve Officers Training Corps, which is reserved for people who actually go into the military with a degree. So if you have at least a bachelor's or higher, you go ROTC. And what happens is once you clear basic, you go to Reserve Officer Training School. But you got a lot of people that just can't do it. They're lazy. They can't get up. They can't follow orders. Just things that we would consider to be basic, simple, every everyday things. And never mind when they start to actually have to do things where people not can get hurt, but they can die. So when you're doing live fire exercises, like when you're on the range with the M16 and you're trying to qualify as a marksman, you throwing grenades like you were saying earlier, that stuff happens in boot camp. And yes, some people are critically hurt during boot camp, depending on what line you go into. Now, most of the basic training for all the five branches, if you will, won't necessarily count the not the merchant marines, but the coast guard. So you got your army, navy, your air force, and your marines. They're pretty much all the same. They're designed to take you from being a civilian to somebody who can actually pick up a weapon and fight in a cohesive unit against somebody that's attacking the position. That's what boot camp is designed to get you to do, and to be able to take orders under duress and under fire and handle yourself. That's it.
And I think that's one of the things what my cousins was trying to sell me on. It was like, if you once you get through boot camp, and it's like, and because they said you may end up, you might not be out there like that. You might step right into a profession, and
Mhm.
you might not be in the line of fire, especially if I don't know, based on if I score well on that as I don't know how it worked, but I was already scared off at that point. So once I had that conversation, I was like, because again, me and my boy, he was like, we can go in there on the buddy system, whatever. And I'm like, okay, we'll get through it. And I really knew that it wasn't for me. And all it took was that one conversation from one of my cousins. And and it wasn't like it was a guy. She's a female. And then I was like, not gonna be doing that. So I understood that aspect. So it started the options start becoming limited. I said, well, we know I'm not going to do any hard manual labor. Uh, I'm not going to be able to go to the military. So all I had was college, and it was that was a rough start at the beginning because I ended up being on like academic probation or academic warning status and stuff like that. And then I finally we shared this story. Shout out to Tony Miller, one of my mentors, ripped me a new one. And actually, my cousin that was talking to me, her and Tony had kids together. So she was talking military. He was about college. He was like an advisor at college. So he was pushing me for the college thing throughout as I was growing up. Excuse me. He let me have it because I wasn't performing in school, and then I ended up turning it around like my last couple years. But the first 2 years, it was rocky. And then I thought about it. I said, well, damn, if I get dismissed, what will I do? What will I do? Because I wasn't the type that, like, even in junior high, because that's what it was called during the days, like, and doing electric shop and metal shop and wood shop. I didn't like those classes. I used to have people do my projects for me who were better hands on. And like, well, I hope you, David. I hope you. And I remember like we did a lot of good stuff, whatever. Like them penny hockey, like little games. You slide the penny and you try to score the goal, whatever. We had to design like our own games. It was in wood shop. It was like sort of like the game. Was it the little game like be at the boys club when you have the
Or
little
air hockey.
air hockey, but it was like a game that you could play with pennies, whatever, and you would try to score your goal, and we would design those. Well, I was totally clueless with mine. I think a couple guys in the class pretty much helped build mines, and I ended up getting a good grade. But and I was a nice kid, whatever. So the teachers worked with me, but that I knew that wasn't my strength. Even as at a young age, when you get dismissed,
Look like you might be frozen or you're gonna lag out. Let's see.
yeah. So
Okay.
even as far as fixing a flat tire on my bike, I had one of my older. He was like a brother to me. If my bike got a flat, shit, I would wait to hit for him to fix it. And the more I asked, the more days he would play around with me. So he's like, either you could go get a new inner tube and I'll show you how to put it in, or you can get patches and glue and all that stuff. He said, you better off getting. I said, well, you already know what I'm going to do. Of course, I would go ask my grandfather, could I have money to get a new inner tube for my bike? And he was like, or what you could do if you want to save money, just buy some patches and glue.
Yeah.
You stick your thing in some water, see where the leak is at. I'm not doing all that. But I never would fix it. And he would always have to. So he always had that. I guess I kind of gave him that advantage because he was trying to school me and teach me how to do it. But I wasn't trying to be taught. I wanted him to do it. So I would rely on him to do it. So there you have it. So I was conditioned to always kind of be put into like I need to be in office. I need to
Hmm.
be doing something based on circumstances. Now, granted, maybe my father he worked at a plant. He worked at the same plant my grandfather worked at. And at the time, my grandfather just say, "Man, your father would have went high up in this plant if he would have stayed off the alcohol and the drugs." Uh, but he let that deter his thing, and then after a while, he wasn't around for us to teach and school us. So I lost some of those little things, those skills. I kind of lost, and I kind of relied because my grandfather. It wasn't like he was man. He worked at a plant, but he had people doing stuff for him, like his family members. So if he needed something done, they would do it because they revered him. They kind of, looked up to him. He was that guy. And so I kind of took on that mindset, like, well, I ain't doing this, whatever, when I could have somebody else kind of do it for me. So here we go. Years later, me at 55, still kind of had that same type of mentality. And that's how sometimes things get shaped and formed in who you become because of your past experiences. You see how this stuff connects, people? We tell you it all connects.
And you mentioned the ASVAB, and I think a lot of people may not know. I won't say they don't know. An ASVAB just simply measures your um your aptitude for certain things. And I would encourage anybody who has um kids out there to young adults, once they get about 16, 17, in between the ages, especially if they're not working or they don't know what they want to do or they don't know what they're good at, have them sit down and take the ASVAB. So anybody between the ages of 18 to 30, if they're unsettled or they may want to switch careers or jobs, have them take the ASVAB. I'm not sure how long the test is. I believe you might be able to pick up one offline or somewhere. Take the ASVAB. It will show you and reveal so much about yourself that when you do it, and this is why the military does it, that when you see it, you say, hey, look, you have a natural aptitude for intelligence. Because that's one of the things that in the military that is crucial is information. This is why I always say, no matter who you are, no matter where you are in this world, excuse me, hiccups, learn another language, Spanish, especially Spanish. Here in the United States, pick up Spanish, French, because all it does is open another door to more employment. And this is an example I was coming up with when I was just thinking about scenarios. You got two people equally qualified, college interns, they just graduated, they both got a, they're both interviewing, same company. This company has plans to relocate some of their major offices overseas. They're looking for somebody with the ability to lead a section of the corporation. I don't know what it is, and it's immaterial. And they've narrowed it down to two candidates. One speaks the language well enough to where they're passable, the other doesn't. Who do you think is going to get that job? That's the kind of market that we are in. So it doesn't matter what your gender is, it doesn't matter what your age is. It matters every bit of information and skill that you have. I always talk about your toolkit. Same thing happens when you apply for jobs. The more you know, the better off you are. You become a utility knife. So okay, we can't use them here. We might be able to use them here. You want to make yourself your version of the Dos Equis man or the Dos Equis woman. So you write well. Your soft skills, they're impeccable. You go somewhere, you start a conversation season. You pick up you can get into sales. People say, well, why would I want to get into sales? Because it's a way into a business. I'm not saying you have to stay in sales, but getting into sales allows you to get closer to that six-figure job. You would be foolish not to understand how to be the best salesman you can be. Kevin Samuels, shout out to the Godfather, man. Rest that man's soul. He started out in sales. Look where he ended up before his untimely demise. Never say no to a door that's open to you that can help you advance your career. Even if you go to the military and you don't make it, at least you know that's not for you, and you'll understand. Okay, look, I can't follow those type of rigid directions, so I need to be in a job where I have some flexibility. And you know what? You may want to open up your own company. You might want to do painting. You might want to do construction or deconstruction. You might want to do landscaping. Any of those things. Start out small. Start out cutting lawns, uh, tree removal, any of those things, because those are actually jobs that are always going to seek employment. Now, pay is a different thing because you don't know what the area you're in is going to be able to sustain. Now, here, that landscape is not necessarily the greatest job on the planet in terms of payment. Cool. But there's always gig economies. You have people doing Uber Eats. You have people driving Uber on the weekends, and they're doing well. They're bringing an extra $300 or $400 a day. If you're trying to supplement your income, and that driving Uber brings in $300-400 a day or whatever it is, especially if in a major metropolitan area, that's an additional $600 a week. That's $2,400 a month. Coupled with what you do during the week, you can be bringing in about $3,000-4,000 a week. I'm sorry, yeah, depending on what you're doing, yeah, 3 or 4 grand a week. That puts you in about $75,000, which puts you solidly in the middle class. That's just one person. If you have a mate and she's doing something similar, you guys are literally a six-figure home. So this is when it becomes important that you start understanding your economic situation and you start setting things up. Do we want to buy a house, or we can continually rent, or we can do like Dave? We gonna get a mobile home. We gonna park here, do this here. We gonna have kids. These are all the things that comes into this process of what are we gonna do? Because a lot of people they don't think, a lot of younger people don't think about it. They say, well, we can't have kids because we can't afford to. Okay, I'll give you that. The economy is kind of tough right now, and now we have the situation going on in the Middle East where prices probably going to take another hit, and inflation is going to reach into our pockets a little deeper. You got to find a way to sustain, and it's not easy, especially if you have kids, and especially if and understand something before I say this. I'm not telling people that you've done something dumb, but having kids out of wedlock right now in this economy, probably the worst decision that you can make. Not that it's ever been a good decision, but that's probably one of the worst decisions you can ever make. And I'm not telling you don't have sex. I'm saying understand who you're having sex with, the outcomes, and how you can minimize disaster. Disaster, unplanned pregnancy with somebody you're not married to, somebody you don't plan on being married to, somebody you can't cohabitate with. Because if you get a person pregnant, you just gotta sit down and say, okay, look, we don't love each other enough to make a marriage work, but we care enough about the child that we're gonna bring forth to cohabitate. So you say, okay, let's do this. Let's go find us a house where we can take out a loan with our collective money, our collective income. We could put this down as some roots for the future for the child. Because like I said 2 weeks ago, the relationship is the CEO, the people involved are the board members. What's more important? The relationship or the board members' feelings? You got to put those feelings aside. This is why people have been able to do jobs they don't like for 40, 50 years because they understand what the bigger picture is. It's retirement. So you sit down with this person and say, look, this is what we need to do. We need to hit this pitch mark, this pitch mark, this pitch mark. We get this kid in school. And who knows, over time, you two may say, you know what? We developed a big enough bond to where we care for each other that we know what? We're just going to go ahead and do a small ceremony. We got the house in place. Our child is 6 years old, bright, articulate. We don't necessarily need to put them in private school. Just go ahead and let's go ahead and get married. And next thing you know, y'all got 15 years in, and people are looking at you guys like you're the model couple. You say, hey, look, we didn't necessarily do this the right way. We sat down and we had a discussion about what it was that we wanted. So yeah, we were forged in fire, and now we iron, but it took some time. It took some decision making. Pardon me, and most of all, it took some understanding of us and what we wanted, and that's a lot of what this comes down to. When we talk about whether you want to go to college, the workforce, the military, what are your future plans? And some people who don't have guidance at home, they have no idea. They want to go to college, but they're looking at the cost and say, "Well, I can't afford that." That's guidance counselor will tell you they're student loans because they'll loan you the money. They won't loan you the money side of business, but they'll loan you the money you get in debt. So you say, "Okay, I want to go to be a teacher." Noble profession. What are you going to be a teacher of? Let's say, "Well, what do you mean? You're going to be a college professor, or you're going to be a high school English, science, math, or whatever?" "Oh no, I want to teach grade school. I like working with kids." So, okay, cool. You start sitting down, you start crunching the number. You say, $100,000. I'm gonna have to go $100,000 in debt before I can start making money. You say, "Okay, yeah, I'll do that." You get into the program and you get to grad school, and all of a sudden now you become a teaching assistant. They put you in one of these rough districts. You say, "Oh my gosh, is this what I got to deal with? For how long?" You say, "I don't know, man. I don't know if I can do this." But you done spent $100,000 literally to get that degree, and now you're saying you don't want to utilize it. You're in a bad way. And there's really no way that you can transition to something else with that degree. Now, if you had a chemistry degree and you wanted to teach chemistry in college, and it's not quite your liking, well, you can always go work for a company that develops medicines, a company that develops explosives, or anything of that nature with a chemistry degree. So you see how getting a degree isn't necessarily always the same thing. You can go get a STEM degree. You don't like this one, so you can bounce to this company and do this. The the thing is to give yourself options with whatever you choose, just in case something doesn't work out for you. It gives you leverage in the business market, and that leverage can also come through great when it's time to negotiate a raise. You walk into the office and say, you know, I I've contributed this to this company, this to this company. I'd like a $2,000 a year raise or whatever it is. Manager sits down and looks and said, "I don't know if we can afford that." He said, "Well, hey, look, I have an application in at your competitor. They're willing to not only match my current salary, they're willing to exceed it by 5,000. Like Ray Charles in the movie. Can you match it? And if they say no, and you got that offer, you got the tender in your hand, say, "Hey, look, it's been a great working with you, but I got to put myself first and leave there. Leave, leave on good terms. If you give a 2 week notice, my suggestion, this is only my suggestion, fulfill in 2 weeks. Leave out of there, bridge intact, no hard feelings, although they're gonna have to replace you, so that they're gonna feel some kind of way. But hey, you gave them the opportunity to match the offer. They didn't match it. You got to take that money. You got to take that money while you're young, gifted, and able to, and move on out the door. Ease on down the road, like Michael Jackson said in The Wiz, and go ahead and start that new job because they will have no problem replacing you in a heartbeat if the situation was the same. There's loyalty. I'm not telling you to be disloyal, but the person you have to be loyal to first is yourself. Because if you're not loyal to yourself, then you're doing yourself a disservice, and that does nobody no good. Especially if you're married and you got kids and you're trying to advance your family, your lineage, your legacy, and you're trying to put more money aside for retirement. And you got a little kid at home that wants to play AAU sports. You got to make it happen. And as long as you're willing to sacrifice something now for the greater goal, then You be game. That's why I work 60 hours a week. Every time I sit in this chair, I'm tired. That's David. David will tell you. I say I'm tired,
Shit.
but I understand this is part of the process. I got to get through. Tomorrow's Tuesday. I go back to the I go back to my other job, and it starts the week. 60 hours in the middle. It's gonna be a grind. I gotta get through it because somebody's gotta repair the home, somebody's gotta repair the garage, and ain't nobody coming to say this black man, but this black man.
Now, I know one thing you had mentioned. You said something about the mobile home, and then you said,
Yeah.
"What I do now." Let me correct that. I don't have no mobile home that that I'm going place to place. What I've been saying that I'm gonna do, and I said I'm gonna get me a sprinter van, and I'm just gonna drop off cargo. I'm gonna ride out and go to different places, and I'm gonna enjoy, and I'm gonna get paid, and that's that's my game plan. Uh, and shout out to my cousins from Milwaukee, who trying to mainly my one cousin Lawrence, aka Pookie, uh, who was telling me like, "Yo, cuz, you can make depending on how far you want to travel, what you want to do, you can make 12,000 to 20,000 a month." It and I'm sure he's grinding all over. Well, for me, I don't know if I want to be out there like that all over the country and all that stuff. I probably just want to hit the East Coast. And even with that, I'm only going as far as the Carolinas. So I do all that from that point, but also understand that I also would have a pension coming from
Mm-hmm.
the school system. So that would just be saving, just hitting my account. And then the driving thing, I feel like for me, that's therapeutic. Just driving. You ain't got to deal with nobody. You ain't got to talk to nobody. You ain't got to deal with no kids. You ain't got to deal with no freaking fake ass leadership staff who think they know more than what they know. You just ride. Got people unloading your thing. They loading it back up, sign it, on to the next. On to the next. Meanwhile, you map out your schedule. You say, hey, I can pick up this load here, but meanwhile, I'm gonna stay here for a day or two. I'm gonna check out this city, see what they got to offer. And I'll catch an Uber or whatever the case is. Get me a hotel because remember that's gonna be a write off.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever, do
Mm-hmm.
business, whatever. And hey, if it's a basketball game going on that night in that city or some other event, look it up. Yeah, then like okay, I got to be here in a couple days. That's what I want to do. That's what I'm gonna do, and I'm gonna enjoy it. And I'm gonna be still have my pension money coming in, hit my account. It may not be the full because ain't nobody gonna see me at 60 years old in nobody's school. I ain't gonna be no 60-year-old man. I've been saying that years ago. Even when I was in my 40s, like I don't see myself no 60 at nobody damn school. Especially following leadership from some idiots that's younger. Please. Please. So that's a guarantee. And I don't care who watching it and who heard it. And they say, "Oh, I think he talking about you." Come see me. Come holler at me, because that's the point of it. Come see me. You won't. You won't. So that that's my thing. Whatever. So you won't catch me at 60. Now, actually, I'm going to a retirement interview workshop tomorrow. And hopefully, after talking to somebody one on one, and they say, "Well, if you stay one more year, you would get this monthly, or if you could hang for 2 more years." But one thing for sure, you you will not see David Lorenzo Glover at nobody's fucking school at 60. You can bank on that. You can bank on that. You will not. And I don't care what they say. Oh, you won't get your full such and such. Don't care. Don't care because when you think about other plans and other ways to make money.
Yeah.
So I don't
Oh,
care
yeah.
about that shit. Yeah, I ain't about to control me. That sit up there and think, oh, you'll get your full thing. You're 67. What the fuck I look like working at 67 in the middle school?
Yeah.
You set up for fucking failure, heartache and pain, disrespect, uh, high blood pressure, and everything. I wish I would. And I wish I would retire from somewhere and die a year later. I wish
Yeah.
I would.
I
So
hear those stories, man. I think that is just absolutely bananas. Just work 50 years to not be able to enjoy anything that you've done, you've earned. That's why I'm like, you know what? Now I'm gonna start taking some time off. I'm gonna start going places. I'm gonna start meeting people. I'm gonna start to do a few things because yeah, I'm right behind you. I'll be 55 this year, and I'm just like, you know what? It's time to start enjoying all the seeds that I planted, and they've started to take root. And now I got some trees to sit under the shade with a nice cool glass of lemonade, or for me, pink lemonade and my Ciroc. I ain't got it with me right now, but but me and my tangerine Ciroc, man, shoot this, and it's funny,
and it's well deserved, and you
yeah.
deserve. And if you have dope limit and you struggle back to your room, so what? So what? Once you put in the years, whatever. Yeah, and that ain't time to be in no casket 2 years later after working all your life, whatever. Nah. Yeah, I ain't about that. Yeah, I don't give a damn what lie y'all keep telling. Like, oh, you got to be 67, or we raising this age to get your full thing.
And you mentioned just before, and you mentioned it again, and I think it's absolutely, because my brother talks about it, being a consultant, and a lot of people don't realize. I don't want to say easy, that's the wrong word, but a lot of people don't realize the ease with which you can become a consultant on something you've done your entire life. And people will say, well, don't you need a degree to be a consultant? No, you need knowledge. And you need knowledge and the wisdom to where you can sit down with somebody and say, look, I have a list of clients that you can speak to that I've consulted with on several things, and the outcome is this. So, whether it be business management, how to run a household, how to budget, um, how to manage kids, you can get in on a not-for-profit organization, and you can take that information, and you can parlay that to your own business, or you can work for a nonprofit under somebody else if you need to, and bang, 20 hours a week, you retired, you bringing in $20,000. Now, some people will say, well, $20,000 is not a lot of money. Well, it's called supplemental income. So if you got a home and it's paid for, you got a reliable vehicle and it's paid for, you literally have no overhead, especially if you don't have any kids. So you taking $10,000 of that 20, half of that money goes into your retirement account. You're not even looking at that. So you take the 5 grand, you live off of that, you pay your taxes, you make sure your car's taken care of, service. You got $5,000 to play with. So let's say you want to take a trip somewhere. You want to go to the Caribbean. You want to go to see Tahiti. You got number time. Number time, you got the extra money to do it. Hey, and if you got your plus one, even better. But see, we don't tend to look at these kinds of things because we're too mired in the rat race. Sometimes we too mired in helping our kids, if you have them, or your grandkids. This is why it becomes important, especially for those of you who are supporting your kids and your grandkids. Sit down and talk with them. Tell them, say, hey, look, grandma's 60, grandpa's 65. We're not going to be here long. But while we're here, let's sit down and let's talk about what your life will look like when you get to be our age. Because that's the hope. We do this stuff, even though I don't have kids, I'll do this stuff. Hell, I own this house so I can will it to my family. So whether I am living here in my elder age, where my nieces and nephews come in and they can have this, it is easier for them to keep this house, keep it up, and live here, or rent it out and keep that money rolling into the family. That way, their kids don't have to struggle. Their kids don't have to hustle and grind so hard. But because people don't talk about these type of things, and the people that do talk about these type of things, they want to charge you. You getting this information from us for free. The only thing we do is ask that you give us a like and a subscribe. Now, we're not necessarily financial experts, but you can certainly see that we actually know something about what we're talking about because Dave is doing well financially, he's looking to get a pension retirement, and I'm a homeowner. And we've both come from literally nothing. We weren't given any silver spoons, we were just given an opportunity. And that's all anyone should ever ask for is an opportunity. But when you get that opportunity, you gotta maximize and make the most of it. Kevin Samuels used to say, your net worth is your network. Surround yourself with people who can put you on. Surround yourself with people who know how to get you in a situation to where you're sitting at a door and an economic opportunity is there. And too many of us, we don't want to do that. We think we know, I can just wing it on my own. Because I used to be like that. No, man. If somebody's giving you a ladder, use the ladder. Don't think you got to do everything yourself. If it doesn't look bad on you, how do you think everybody else has got to where the hell they are? George Bush Jr. and Sr., father and son president, only happened twice in this country's history. Van Buren's the other one. Use the resources, use your people, use your group. Don't refuse any help that's going to advance your economic standing. Just don't do it. So whether it's a gig economy, you let's say somebody you like the theater and you act. They say, hey man, I know you like to act. I know your schedule kind of tight, but coming up in about 3 months, they're looking for somebody to play a bit part in this role. You say, does it pay? They say, yeah. How much? $600. Oh, well, shit, yeah, I will do that role. That's how I got the two things that I did, the workshop and the play some years ago. I love the theater, but you're getting paid to do something that you love. Now, it might take a little bit of time out of the schedule. You might be tired. And somebody might see you on stage. They say, you know what? That guy's good. You know what? Does he have an agent? A manager? No. I can talk to him directly and say, hey, look, I'm such and such. I produce Broadway musicals in New York. Why don't you come down there and do a reading for us? You say, really? Yeah, we'll pay for your airfare. We'll put you up in a hotel for 3 days. So why don't you come down and do a reading? You say, bet. Go down there, do the reading, you kill it. They'll say, all right, here's a contract. This play is going to run for 2 weeks. We'll give you a per diem of $100 a day, which in New York is not a whole lot, but they're gonna pay for your hotel and your per diem. We just ask that you show up on time, play your role, and don't be drunk. We say, oh, cool. I'm not a drinker. I'm just go down there. I might catch a Yankees game. I might catch a Knicks game, like David was saying, or you might want to go over, take the path to catch the Nets play. You might want to catch a Broadway play while you're down there. There's so many things to do around there. And who knows? If you're single, you're male or female, you might bump into somebody that you can establish a kinship with down there, and you can get more inroads to musical plays and all of that stuff. But you got to be able to. You have to be willing to network. And a lot of people don't do that. They want to use social media, but they want to use social media to get clicks and likes. You want to follow chicks on Instagram, but you don't want to follow somebody that's actually looking for people to do things with, to collab with, to write with, to produce um, short movies like this. And I want to get his kid public acknowledgement. His name is Amari, a young brother. Yo, him, Jada Faye, which is a female. Yo, if you don't follow them, please go look them up. Jada Fade is spelled Jaetefade. She's a beautiful woman, and yo, their acting is grade A. And this is coming from me, and I'm tough on people. And the Amari, yo, fantastic, fantastically written stuff, well edited. The music is on point, and this is the type of stuff I'm talking about when we talk about the gig economy. This person is taking an ideal, a concept, put it on paper, and is putting it in front of thousands of people. Who knows where this may go from? He might be able to turn it into a multi-million-dollar movie, something that just wasn't thought.
Okay. I'll say shout out to my brother Carlos Muhammad
Yep.
with using AI and creating his series, the two paychecks, saying how you could be on top and how you can suddenly lose everything. Um, Follow Carlos Muhammad, Google him, and whatever. You'll see how that situation. And a lot of people are have fear of AI and all that stuff. Like for real, you got bigger fears than that. You got bigger fears than AI. You got bigger fears worry about walking in your neighborhood with people that shit that you know and you see every day. Them the ones that them the ones gonna take you out.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the people that's go take you out. I'm not worried about artificial intelligence and any of that stuff because the simple fact they already got all your stuff. Anybody who, if they want it, or government or whatever the case, they already got your information. They already got your information to begin with. So we gotta we gotta stay in tune with the times and not get caught up in myths and to other agendas that people say, "Oh, you using AI, you doing this and that." Also, I always say, consider the source. Consider the source of the people you talk to in day to day situations. A lot of y'all just listen to anybody.
Yeah.
Y'all listen to anybody. And we talk about this all the time. They had no credibility in relationships. They have no credibility in career, job wise. Never been at a job for 5 years or more. But that's the shit y'all listen to. And I'm sorry. I don't do small talk no more as I get older, as I've gotten older and wiser. Only, to be honest, no, don't get me wrong, I wouldn't be rude, but I'm not going to sit and engage with a conversation that is not going to be beneficial for me. It's going to have to be something that hit my heart or hit me mentally that I will keep it going. And those are the conversations I'm interested in, motivation, and okay, how can I step my game up? Because we're still learning. This is a learning process. We don't. You keep on learning. The minute you say to yourself, "I don't want to learn or take advice or listen to anybody else," I hate to be rude to say it, you might as well call it quits.
Yeah.
Call it quits. Plan your funeral. But long as you still living and breathing, you still can learn. And you should want to learn. And you shouldn't have the mindset that nobody can't tell you anything. So that's where I'm at. So I don't engage in all that banter with people who ain't talking about nothing. Talking about drama and shit they seen on social media that has no value. I'm on the grind, like I said. And I'm gonna say it again. You will not catch David Lorenzo Glover in nobody's school at 60. At 60, you will not. And, kids saying, how old are you, Mr. Glover? How old are you? And they're like, well, no, you different. You not like those other, they and I don't argue with kids because they cuss or swear, whatever. Like, you're being disrespectful. How the hell am I gonna stop them? That's what they do. They cuss around their damn parents. So why the hell they go not cuss around me? It's not like I'm on like that shit driving a stake in my heart, like it's hurt me like I never heard it before. And like, you're not like these other old ass people, whatever. And they're like, you like cool, whatever. And in this, you will not catch me in nobody's school. In nobody's school like that. And I put in the time, and I don't have to do that. And I'm trying to develop a plan to make things better. But it all ties in, is relative to this conversation because shit, either you go to college, and sometimes stuff double backs on you, double back. You spin the block because originally, even for myself, originally I was in the marketing. Nobody can tell me I wasn't gonna have no business suit on hitting the airport. I used to think about the Hearst commercial with O.J. Simpson running
OJ.
through airports, and I was like, "Shit, I'm but trying to going through airports, being marketing and business." But then I ended up getting into the helping profession, and then it came back to twofold when I became an author, start podcasting and broadcasting and all of that stuff, that I still had to market myself, a brand. So I not that anything that I learned in college. I mean, it probably gave me some soft skills, but I can't say I remember anything from that point. So I guess I'm saying a little something about education. Sometimes
No,
it's the personal experiences
yes.
that kind of you remember in certain situations that you grow from. It might not be from taking a test or reading literature or whatever the case is. And I think it was my experiences that always drove me like, yeah, that's where I started at. So I wanted to be somebody who could try to build a brand, and it's still growing. We've gained strides, whatever. People like, how you and the Big Bad Wolf get together, and that just happened because of another connection, Kale
Hmm.
JN, whatever. And he became one of my supporters when I first came in doing blog talk. And some things just make sense.
Yeah.
Then we have connected, and we've been connected for years doing this. Do we got numbers that blow you off the roof? Nah, not worried about that.
Yeah.
I'm not worried about that at all. Stuff is growing. I know one thing. In a minute, we probably gonna have 1 million views. We probably at the halfway point for having close to 500,000 views overall on this channel. Shit, once you hit 1 million, I don't give a damn what you say. That's somebody checking you out when you hit a mill.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
When
Do
you hit a
believe that.
mill,
Do believe that. And I think a lot of people don't understand that what we discuss, we consider it to be important. We consider it to be vital. We consider this to be conversations that move the needle. It's not idle banter because you can sit down with any generation of people, anybody in any profession, and you can have this discussion with them. And guess what? They're going to have something to say. Now, what they're going to say, we don't know. What position they're going to take, we don't know. They have career day. What do you think career day is about for for bring your child to school or bring your child to work day? What do you think that's about? You don't think that's a form of recruiting? You don't think that's a form of showing your child what you do for a living? You don't think that's putting a seed in their head? Saying, well, Because I remember when I was in a foster home out in Archive, hell, dude was so good at being a mechanic, I wanted to be a mechanic. I didn't know jack about tools. All I knew was that this man could take something, an ideal in his head, and drop it, and it's complete, and it functions. And that kind of stuff blew me away because I've never seen black men do that type of stuff before. I've never seen black men that weld. I've never seen black men that could do electrical work. Take a take some wood, some concrete, drop a foundation, put up the boards. I just heat the goddamn place. I mean, we go out in the wintertime and he got a whole heating system out there, and the place is warm. We working on a car. He taking uh a van, cutting out the side, putting windows in it. I've never seen this before. How the hell? Who taught you this? What? Are we in the middle of nowhere with all this information, all this ability, small engine repair, fixed tractors, and when I talk about supplemental income and gig economy, because he worked for Napa till he got laid off. So he had a 74 metallic blue Ford. And me and my younger brother, when we were out there for almost 4 years, we'd push tractors up there. He would drop it off, deliver it, and we out to the next one. I'd never seen a man do what he did, and it left an impression upon me so indelible that I think of that man and his family fondly. And I won't mention them by name. Matter of fact, I have to check on the mother to see if she's still with us. I'll probably do that tomorrow. But I was blessed to be able to see that type of stuff. So when I talk about doing a roof myself, that's where the genesis of that came from. Some people will say, okay, big deal, you can put on the garage roof. I want you to do something next time you get the inclination. See how much it costs to put on the garage roof, and then tell me that's not worth something. See how much it costs to pour a concrete foundation, and tell me that's not worth something. That's why I tell you, don't say no to information. Don't say no with somebody wanting to teach you something. You never know what it might spark, how beneficial it is. All that stuff comes back together. It's like baking a cake. You can't bake a cake. You can't make a cake without flour. The hell with baking it. If something happens to the power grid, where the power grid goes down for, let's say, now that we out of winter, let's say the power grid go down for 14 hours. How are you gonna keep warm? How are you gonna get some purified drinking water to drink? How you gonna eat? You got no gas, you got no electric. You probably don't know the first thing about using a hatchet, using an axe, using a chainsaw. You may not even have a propane grill that you can use. So now how you gonna feed your family? Heaven forbid if you're a single mother and you ain't got nobody to rely on, you ain't got no male friends you can call. This is what Kevin Samuels used to talk about all the time. All of this stuff comes around. Stop burning bridges. Start creating a kinship, a network to where if you need something, you need somebody to help, they're there. And you might have to get to a point where you might barter for something. You may not have the money, but you might have the expertise to say, hey, look, I need this done. What do you need done? I need this drywall put up. Okay, well, I need this done. You got change services. Drywall's done. You paint, you go on. Whatever it is they needed done, they needed something baked, you done out. This is the world we live in right now. Where money, especially with the potential, I don't want to say collapse, but the potential unseating of the US dollar as the world reserve currency. And if you don't understand what the world reserve currency means, as simply put, it's the unit of currency that the world trades in, just to make it a little simplistic. It gets a bit more involved in that, but it's for the sake of the discussion of simplicity. You can also look that up too, called the world reserve currency. We might get back to a point where we borrow, and it's not going to be always monetary basis. This is why you see people talk about investing in crypto. Shout out to BGS talking about buying precious metals, gold and silver. Silver is skyrocketing in terms of how much it costs per ounce to pay it. Why? It's used in a lot of electronics. So your smartphones, your laptops, desktops, silver at a premium. Just just all the stuff it comes together. So I would tell you we talked about LinkedIn before. Even if you're on LinkedIn sporadically, try and make sure those attachments that you have, because I get emails from them every day. Somebody wants to add you to their network. Add yourself to their network. Be active in some way, shape, or form. I know I haven't been active on LinkedIn in about 2 years. I get um, uh, messages and emails for this show and everything else. I gotta start doing that. But right now, with the two jobs and everything else that I got going, I'm like, it'll be there. It may not be in the form that I need it, but I can always address that. And like I said, I'm charismatic enough that I can sit here and I can type and I can ingratiate myself to some people. Some people say, "Hey, well, what is that you need that I can give to you?" And some people will say, "Well, why would you want to give anybody something?" Because it shows that I'm willing to work for nothing. Now, some people are like to say, "I'm not giving away my services for nothing." Newsflash: you give away a little something, just a little something. I'm not saying a whole lot. Just like your grandmother used to. What your grandmother tells you, Dave? Give a little
Somebody
something.
can,
It's
somebody can't help you. You go one way across the bridge, and they go the other way. If they can't help you,
Yeah. So show you are of use to somebody. And they may come back to say, "Hey, you know what? I remember this time you did something for me. I got another project. Can you help me on?" You say, "Sure." What does it pay? And you would not be wrong to say, "Well, I thought, no, I understand what you thought. I did that as a favor to you to show you that I can do something. I understand you have a bottom line. I do too. I appreciate you coming to me for this, but my time is valuable and I need to make something from this." They will say, "You know what? Let me go talk to my partners and let's see what we can work out." They get back to you a week later to say, "Look, we can give you $1,000 for this." You say, "All right, cool. What is it?" But we don't want to do that because we think giving something away to somebody for nothing makes us a sucker. No, what makes you a sucker is not taking advantage of an opportunity that you don't know that could present itself to you, that could be beneficial to you 2 months down the road. That's what makes you a sucker.
yeah. So as you can see, this conversation can go a lot of ways, and we're sharing a lot of different personal experiences that kind of dictate whether it's college, work, and all that stuff. We learned from we learned from many of these avenues of why we made decisions. But again, it's one of those things now in this generation. You have opportunities, even older people, to make money.
Hmm.
Herb mentioned Uber Eats and all of this stuff. If you have a car and you have a few dollars for gas and you like shopping, you can Instacart, you can go shopping for people, you can do whatever. It's amazing. Now, and that probably is one of the bigger make money making things, whatever. Because again, when you think about elderly people, they're like, "Oh, I'm not getting out there in that hustle and bustle
Hmm.
of shopping. I rather just go through, click on the items I need, and you do that for a few hours a day. And that's the one thing. Shout out to my sister. She is like, no matter what, she is like, if I hustle, I'm gonna treat it as a job. She's like, so if I was doing something like that, I'm gonna say, oh, I'm doing it for 5 hours. I'm gonna do it for 5 hours, and I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna treat it like a job. And that's the kind of mindset that you have to have when you do something like that. You kind of set whether you say, oh, I want to do 5 or 10 deliveries a day. And if that's what you want to do, then you stay steadfast to that. It, it amazes you how you'll be like, damn, I'm killing this game a little bit because you got structure and things in place, whatever. Nowadays, you have a lot of opportunities to make money on demand. So in places like that, you get paid right then and there. It hits your account.
Mm-hmm.
So if your ass ain't got nothing to eat and you made 80, 90, 100, $150, at least you can say, damn, I got a meal. I got a meal. Because some of y'all ride around with fucking gas. Y'all just riding up and down the street just to be doing it, chilling. And you could be making money doing elsewise. And it ain't nothing greater than maybe if you had a partner to do it. Hey, let's do this shit together.
Yeah.
And we split the costs, whatever. We go here, we tackle it together. Okay, they want 4 or 5 items. You go over here, I go over there. Bam, bam, bam. Get it, move on. And, and if you're doing it with somebody that you enjoy doing it with, say if it was a couple, shit, you probably could say, shit, we knocked out 5, 6 hours. We made like $500. Uh, split that time because I had somebody doing it with me, and we killed it. It's
Yeah.
things out here that you could be creative with and you can make money.
And I'm going through a wrinkle in here just for people that don't understand how my mind works. If you're doing Uber Eats, if you're doing Uber, this is what I want you to do. Especially if you're doing it for anywhere from 15 to 20, maybe 30 hours a week. In addition, incorporate yourself as a livery service. All right. Once you incorporate yourself and you get your EIN, which is your employee identification number, hire yourself, your wife, or whoever you're working with, your gas, your insurance, your maintenance. Write that off. And the money that you get, pay yourself a small wage and bank the rest. Because you're working to get extra money. And like David said about his retirement, that goes to another bank account. You don't even worry about that. These opportunities are here. Like David said, some of y'all got a car and y'all just riding around and y'all not doing anything. Just imagine if you go to a city like New York for a weekend and you work 20 hours doing Uber. You come back with $500, go back to your job, go back down, and you do this for 6, 7 months. You make 5 grand, and then you set up shop in your own city, even a city like Niagara Falls, because I know there's a boatload of elderly people who, like David said, once the winter hit, they're not fighting to get out. You get your little nieces and nephews, your cousins that are wayward. Their mother saying, "Look, I need some way to keep this young man out of jail." You say, "All right, send him to me." You get him cleaned up, get him a nice shirt, tie, and say, "Hey, look, this is gonna be your job. You do this, you'll get this kind of money. But here's the stipulation: you got to stay away from them knuckleheads." Now, I'm not saying this is gonna be successful, but I'm saying you giving him an option. So when people say there are no options for these kids, you can say, "Well, that's not true. I got 4 of my people here working, and they do this. They get this amount of money every year. Their grades are improved. They're stable now. They're going to school. They're not necessarily running around with the potential criminal element. But you have to be willing to expose yourself to some risk and take the opportunity. Because everything comes with a risk. Walking outside this house for me, every day is a risk. Now, you can also minimize that risk by doing things that people who stay out of trouble do. And what do? They go to work, they invest in family, they invest in friends, they look for business opportunities. You don't find criminals hanging around those people. Why? Don't want nothing to do with them. They call him stuffy. Oh no, he bougie. And he think he better than everybody else. And you know what? When somebody said that, you say, yeah, because I'm over here getting it in. My nails are clean. I ain't got to stick my hand in that proverbial dirt to get money. And you know what? When I see the police, it doesn't concern me. I don't worry about them. And that's the position you want to put yourself in. You want to put yourself in the position to where you can go anywhere in this world and they only see you as a threat because you're smart, not because you out here gang banging and drinking and making kids all over the place. No, because you're a mover and a shaker. So when you sit to the table, they know you already got ideals. They know you already planning and scheming. What did Jay-Z say? I'm a business man. You better recognize what's being put out there, man, and start putting it and getting it together.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the things Herb said. Like when you do some of these things, you become an independent contractor. You could write off a lot of things. You just got to have everything lined up and in order, and you can do all that. So when I mention the sprinter and all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
hey, it may be days for me, and I vision it. It may be days to say, hey, you got to go to this, get this load in South Carolina, but I'm here, and I know I got a couple days. I got to go pick it up and get it. Well, shit, you gotta say shit. You gotta stay at a hotel. You got to do that. You pay. You write it off, and all that stuff. Whatever the gas and all that stuff. It's very. You got to have we got to have a plan as you listen to people who successful. They always talk about having multiple streams of income. And that's the direction and creativity that we have to create. Because if you work a job and you can't get no overtime, you can't do this and that, there's no way to dig yourself out of a hole unless you do something different. There's no way. Once you fall in a hole and you work a job and your paycheck look the same week after week after week, you have to do something different.
Yeah.
You have to do something extra because it would just continue to grow. It's not going to go anywhere. So again, I'm gonna keep referencing her because I'm proud of her. My sister, she like man, she was like a lot of people don't know. Working in corrections, you can kill the game. It, she, and I'm like impressed that like damn. She like man, like I've been off. Listen, they got it sweet. She got it sweet. You know, the last time she been to work, like at there, she. I don't mean to put her business out there, but it's already know she. It's all good because she worked doubles and all that stuff. When she came home in December, she just now about to go back to work in March. In March, and killing it, killing it. But also has this the savviness to say, hey, when I'm in Niagara Falls, I still got jobs lined up there. So I'm getting my check from my main job. Maybe not with overtime, but I'm still gonna work this job while I'm home because I still connected where I'm at. So I think the moral of all that is staying connected and having opportunities to make money. Like I can leave my one job, then go here, and still make money doing elsewise. See, a lot of y'all fall into the trap. Y'all looking for the government to come through for y'all in so many ways. There's so many ways and opportunities to make money, and you could even make money just by. Sometimes you still getting paid just by sitting around. But that doesn't mean you're literally sitting around because you're like, okay, I'm about to bounce out and try to get this money doing this or doing that. So we're saying all this that this is not the old school regime.
Hmm.
In this day and age, you can make money. You could pivot. You could do things to create wealth. Uh, you just gotta be willing to take advantage of it. And sometimes it's doing stuff that you may not necessarily want to do. And like, nah, this ain't me. But you like, you know what? It's lucrative and it's working. So keep that in mind because no matter what, your decisions, weighing your decisions as we talk about in this show, college, military, going in the workforce, there's different options. Even people who go to the military, they work right after they do their time. They go into the workforce, work other jobs,
Hmm.
and they still getting it. Shout out to my girl Chrissy Pooh. She went to military, did stuff like that, but then they become business owners. They get into real estate and all that stuff, but they still got a check coming in. No matter what, they had a check coming in, and they still making money because if you're able bodied to still be able to work, because when people think about retirement, I think some of y'all get it confused. Think you're supposed to be in some fucking recliner chair with Popeye's chicken and shit all over the place. And I don't do nothing. Getting fat and big, whatever, and then you fucking die.
Yeah.
No, no, you retire at the age of like I'm about to do something else, but at my pace, my time,
Yeah.
with limited interaction with anybody, and I'm making money, and I still got $3,000-4,000 coming in a month, and I ain't touching that,
Hmm.
and I ain't touching that. Imagine that after 4 5 years, imagine 4,000 coming in for 12 months. It's like 5,000. That's like $50,000 you didn't save, and then you still doing something that you like and you enjoy, and you may be making more than you made when you were working. So now you got all it. Now you couldn't save shit when you were working, but now all of a sudden, shit, you saving about $10,000-12,000 a month because you know what your expenses are, and you're like, oh, I don't spend that much. I mean, I was able to get by when I was working, but now you're doing something and you're making more money. Because I could tell you for me, I know even with the broadcast and all that, I know once I retire and I say what I want to say, views and all that stuff go spike. Because they were like, you ever tuned into that dude who retired from the school? He was a counselor. He Anybody can get it. And y'all will get it. I'm telling you now, you will get it. Anybody will get it, and you will get it. So if you administrate on the rise or whatever, and you think you can't get it, I'm gonna shut it down. Anybody can get it. Yeah, it depends. But what I'm really saying is that you could get money from all different avenues, and I think even far as our YouTube thing, a lot of things has been held back because you're working your main job and all that stuff, so you kind of being conscious of what you're saying, but at a certain point, when you start pivoting and doing other things, Say what the hell you want to say and do whatever within context that you don't. You still want to keep your brand clean and all that stuff, but people may be more privy to information that they didn't know before
Mm-hmm.
because now you're like, okay, this is what's really going down. So, and I think people like that information, like inside information. That's why. Okay, I'm going to pivot to another thing. That's why in sports, whatever, when you have, it's always been an ongoing thing that some people go to schools for communication and all that stuff. And I'll say Syracuse, I guess they big for that, like broadcasting and stuff like that. But then you have NBA players or football people that retire and they end up getting those type of jobs. You know why they get them? Because they got inside information to the
Yep.
players. So they're going to give you stories and stuff that you never heard before. Because uh, Joe Brakowski, because he graduated from Syracuse, he can't go in there and have no conversation with LeBron. Not like that. Not to get all the good details. He was like, who is this guy? But a former player can go in there. Reggie Miller can get information. Jalen Rose can get different information. Kenny Smith, Charles Barkley, they could get different information. So that would be the difference when you have inside people that could give you different information and it brings more value.
Yeah, a lot of people don't really understand how those connections work. So you got a lot of people who are former high school ball players. That's an in if you don't understand how to work it. So when you hanging out, you working and probably I'm just in the middle of a game. You working and you doing those kind of things. Shoot, you say, you know what? I know I got the gift of gab. Let me go ahead and set up a mic here and interview these players coming out just to see if I can snag one. And just drop that on their network and you say, you know what? This is okay. And people say, well, I didn't know you could do that. Anybody can hang out in the NBA game, and if you get access, interview a player. Quick question. That's it. Drop a 30-second interview on your YouTube, your TikTok. Hey, I'm such and such. I'm looking to start a, a broadcasting company or whatever it is. Boom. But don't sell yourself short by not trying. A lot of people are scared to try, and then they wonder why they never succeed at anything. So if you want to do broadcasting, learn to write, learn to do all that stuff, learn to be well spoken, learn whatever it is. Even if you have to apprentice under somebody who you don't like, go ahead and do it. It costs you absolutely nothing. You get to partake in stuff that you like to do, and you set.
Yeah, folks, it's out there. So, you know, whatever career choice or path you decide to take, my thing is always try to connect with people who've
Mm-hmm.
been through that path. And don't go into anything thinking you know it all or have all the answers. Even when we talk about this, we ain't making no money doing it. We've been doing this stuff for years.
Yeah.
But like I said, I do believe it'll come a time that you'll be like, damn, shit changed. Dynamics have changed. Uh, now we getting paid. But for people who think, oh, I'm just gonna get on here and have a show or do I already see. I've seen some people from the local town who've called themselves doing that, but then next thing you know, they disappeared after a month or so. And you like, yo, whatever happened, whatever. Because you don't you got to create content, you got to do research and all that, and they'll say, "Damn, I didn't know it was that involved, whatever." Because you never know what's gonna come at you. Like right now, we at a downtime, but when we had women on here, psh, this stuff used to be flowing, because some of the things that they were saying didn't sit in well with what men were thinking. So they couldn't wait for they could wait for Monday nights to
Yeah, buddy.
load
It's like
in. But right now,
WWE.
yeah. So I know how that is, and I know how it how it works, whatever. But just don't think, oh, I just got me a kit. I'm about to do a podcast. I'm about to do this and that. Better have some content to talk about, or whatever the case is, or to be short lived. Yeah, I don't give a damn if nobody watching this or not, because I know if I when you post shorts and videos and all that stuff, and sometimes it's just a glimmer of whatever, and people catch that, and then they're like, damn, that was
Oh,
prevalent what they said.
we got 4 likes tonight.
Yeah,
And this is the live. We haven't even this is not even a rebroadcast. So, like you said, people are watching. They may not comment, but they're watching. And sometimes being seen is more valuable than being heard. I know that don't make sense. Why the hell would you only want to be seen? Because being seen means you're being noticed. Think about all the people that go to Hollywood award shows and think of how many people you don't see but other people see. Pictures are being taken of them, images distributed. In order to be in a game, you got to get into the game. And once you get into the game, it don't matter if you only play 5 minutes, you contribute 2 points, or you only get one reception. Guess what? You in the box score. Somebody's watching you. Somebody saw you. Somebody said, you know what? They put in the work. They're there. They're doing it. And guess what? You watching them do it. That's the beauty.
and it's funny because even for me, I don't want them to see it, but even at my school, these kids they see it, and they think I'm some type of expert on that. Like, they were like, Mr. Glover, I seen your YouTube channel. I said, oh, that's AI, and they like, and I just distract them. I just distract. I just distract them, whatever, and then they keep it. No, that was you, or whatever. And then even they like, man, when the next time you'll be streaming with the Big Bad Wolf? So I would encourage her to do more with the Big Bad Wolf thing, because even when I do AI with Big Bad Wolf, they have hats that says Big Bad Wolf,
Yeah.
whatever.
Trust me, I got something in the wings. I gotta, man, I gotta get my ass moving.
So that could be reality. Like, yeah, shit, I'm the Big Bad Wolf. So people see you wear around a T-shirt, whatever. Big Bad Wolf. People like Big Bad Wolf. They're gonna look because they're gonna. If anything you have with
Yeah.
words, so people gonna look like Big Bad Wolf. Oh, I see. Oh, you that dude will be on that. Oh, okay. Let me ask you this, whatever. Because even sometimes me, when I call my controversial counselor, sometimes I'm just somewhere. Even when I come back home, they be like, "What up, counselor?" Like, oh, yeah, whatever. Like, what's up, man? I say he was like, oh, okay, whatever. But you don't expect nobody to just call you out, controversial counselor. And you like, who the hell calling that out, whatever? Because I'm just being in my normal element. But people notice and they see you, and they start they start saying things, whatever, and it's the visibility and it's the consistency, and that's one of the things that always matter, no matter if you decide to go in the workforce, whether you decide to go in the military, whatever you do, be consistent in your approach. And if you work for a certain place and you work there for 4 or 5 years, it's the consistency. So you eventually move on to another job and get paid, because they'll be like, he did that. He did that work. He put in that work. It's the sporadic shit. Oh, I was here for 6 months, then here, and then there, and they're like, oh shit,
Yeah.
that's like they're not loyal, or they can't even keep a job. So, and that's the one thing you want to teach young people: be consistent at what you do. Quit being the flim flam, switching up, whatever. Stay focused, stay locked in, and good things will happen with consistency. Consistency breaks down resistancy. So anytime somebody's resistant, if you're consistent, you'll break it down. Even we go back into the relationship thing. If you're trying to holler at somebody and you consistent and you held it steadfast, and I ain't talking about no harassment and all that. You just got your subtle ways and you consistent. Sooner or later, if you're a man that's a woman, you know what? I'm gonna give him a chance. I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go out with him, and the rest could be history. The rest could be history. Cause like, yo, you've been trying all that. You weren't disrespectful like these other clowns. You'll say your little things here and there, but you was always consistent. I can always count on like once a month you might send me something or say something, but you wasn't badgering me and all that. And I was watching your page. I was liking your swag. I see how you do other things that you consistent with. And next thing you know, uh, as Herb said, you moving furniture, breaking headboards. I know I'm bad. I'm bad. I'm bad. I'm sorry, people.
No, but I can't rephrase what you say and make it sound any better. Think about it. I was, matter of fact, Martellus Bennett, former NFL receiver, he played for Cowboys, Chicago, New England. He was talking about practice one day with the New England Patriots, and he was saying how practice was terrible. And Coach Belichick laid into everybody. And the one thing that Martellus Bennett said was he liked the fact that he didn't choose favorites. He didn't treat anybody any different. And he said the next day he came back to practice, and he was there early, and all he heard was thump, thump, thump. Looked out, and there's Brady there, just hammering away, throw after throw after throw to be consistent. He said they went out there and had the best practice they've had, 35 for 35 in terms of throws and completions, no drops. That's what consistency does for you. People want to talk about Michael Jordan being the greatest. Michael Jordan is not considered the greatest because of his scoring. Michael Jordan is considered the greatest because he was consistent with his gameplay. Period. It didn't matter if he was feeling well, if he was out to 6 o'clock in the morning. When he laced up them shoes, it was business. He was going to give you what he had. Same thing with Kobe. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. But hey, 5 o'clock in the morning, we can get up. Jerry Rice. Don't matter. Don't matter if he was 25 or 45. When he stepped on the field, you're going to give it to him. All the greats. You look at all the greats that have ever been in anything, whether it's business, science, movie making. You knew what you were going to get because they were a model of consistency. That's why when people say something to me, I'm like, you know what? I'm just consistent. I'm not flashy. There's nobody's going to look at me and say, he's the best I've ever seen. He does things that nobody else has ever done. Wow. I've never wanted to be that person. I have to tell people the biggest thing about me, the greatest thing about me, is I am consistent. I'm going to show up to work on time, all the time, virtually every time. That's why when somebody asks me who else is working, I say, I don't know, but I'm here and the job is going to get done. And they start cracking up. I said, that's my motto. That's all I do.
Again, if there's one thing we're gonna get ready to close it out, if there's one thing I could always say, probably one of the themes is consistency, and no matter what. Because if when you think about it, college, if we close out with the word consistency, college, you gotta have a routine, you gotta have a plan. You can't be loosey goosey. You gotta say, damn, I gotta study. I'm going to the library. Once I get out of class, I'm being there for 3 hours. I'm going to study each of my classes for an hour. You're going to have to come up with some game plan or whatever the case is. So you're going to have to stick to it. And I remember I used to head to the library. And some of my people who used to be like, oh, there go Dave, fake studying. And but their asses end up being academically dismissed. So once I got locked in after the second year and I faced probation and all that stuff, I got locked in. So I did what I had to do. And it worked, being consistent, having a routine. Routines and regiments is key. You go to the military, you already know that structure. You already know what you go get out of that. You're gonna have to have some type of, and that carries on for the rest of their lives because once they get out, shit, they structured people and they don't play around like, they probably never gonna be late for anything. They probably gonna get up, do the same thing, wake up every time. And if you're someone who's dealing with them, you might, well, damn, they did this a stickler first. Well, you know what you're getting into. You know what their life consisted of. So they're gonna be structured. Workplace, you consistent and you stay at jobs and your coworkers, they know what you go get.
Mhm.
Me, over the years, I've probably been a little lax because I always say, and I tell my coworkers, I'm not the starter, I'm the fucking closer. Yeah, I can start this shit out, but I'm gonna close it out every day. I'm the closer. It don't matter if I start in the game, but at the end of the game, I'm gonna be there. So you take your pick. Do you want me to be the start? Because I'm not gonna be the starter and the closer. There is some people, but in the workplace, now if I'm on the court, you want to be the starter and the closer. But in the workplace, either you gonna have some people to start it off, and then they gonna wilter off and go on, or you got somebody that's gonna get stronger and stronger by the moment, and then at the end, they still gonna be, that's me. I'm gonna be there at the end, and I'm not gonna run off when the 2 minute warning come, and like, oh shit, it's time to go. I gotta go. I'm gonna be there. So you take your pick with any of these, but the bottom line is be consistent and hold steadfast to your approach, and you'll see results. Even when you think about weight loss, dieting, and all that stuff, it's all about consistency. And when you think about making decisions, it's about consistency. Relationships, it's about consistency. Soon as you stop being not consistent, your partner say, "Oh damn,
They notice.
yeah, you used to do this. You used to do that. I could always count on this. Now you don't do shit.
Yeah.
Oh, it's because you got me now that you stopped doing this because they know. Oh, they got you based on cap. They did this and do that. Then that mask start peeling off. Start peeling off.
Start
Like
to
right now, some of y'all,
slide.
some of y'all winter masks, y'all probably was mad as hell today. It was 70 some degrees some places. That mask start peeling, whatever. You like, I wasn't expecting this yet, whatever. I wanted to wear it a little longer. You praying for snow or whatever. So
Yeah,
get
I
a
see.
mask to
I see
stay on.
55 here on my computer. So I
Yeah.
I think whatever we have for winter, um, it's pretty much done. It's gonna be in early spring, so that means I got to go out here and start to clean this flower bed out.
No, sir. Y'all still getting one more snowfall, a major thing. No, sir. We might even get it here. It's still going to be some more snow. That's what I think.
March, we just through the first week of March. I don't doubt that. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be surprised. I'm just not gonna count on it. Yeah, it's 55 here, man. I'm looking at the computer. I'm like 55. Shoot, that's a bring out the basketball. Go start practicing the free throws. Go start using the left hand. Go start putting on the rollerblades and hey, get these 80, 90 pounds off. Trying to be between 200, 210. That's the goal, man. That is it.
Any other closing comments you have?
No, that is it.
All right. All right, good people, we out. Everybody enjoy their week. Enjoy, because y'all know it is. March Madness is about to be here. One of the greatest times of the year. March Madness for sports. So I'm always going to be amped for all of that, whatever. And that brings about consistency too, whatever. Just enjoying and living in the mode of you win or you go home. And that's the game of life. Either you win or you going to go home, you live to die, whatever. But the last thing I'm gonna say, I'm gonna tell y'all this, and I'm gonna say it again. What you won't catch is me is 60, no damn body school. And I'm gonna say that for the third or fourth time, whatever, tonight. That's what you won't catch. You won't
Speaking of
catch
March
that.
Madness, I would be remiss, Dr. Dunbar, as Michigan, the University of Michigan basketball fans, I want to give a special Niagara Falls shout out to Roddy Gale Jr. You're doing Niagara Falls, the Cataract, and the amazing Blue Proud. Keep balling, young man. Keep balling.
Well, that's it. And definitely shout out to Roddy. I don't know what they ranked number 3 now. They was ranked number 1 for a minute, so I don't know if they like. Okay, who's number 1? I don't lost track. Oh, Duke.
I think so, yeah.
So who's number 2? I know Michigan was number 2, so I don't even recall who's number 2. But I think Michigan might be number 3. Uh, yeah. Hey, that's consistency. That's living a dream and staying focused because these is memories. You don't get to that level, and most people will never be able to say, "Damn, I played for the number 1 team in the nation in college. I played for number 2." But no matter what, they're probably going to be a number 1 seed going into it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's everything is open. Everything is open. And I'm always again going shout out to Buffalo Extreme with my nephew, whatever. They were, well, I don't understand that. They were number 1 for most of the year. They never lost. And then they got dropped down to number 2. So that's some old ABA shit that not legit. You don't lose your number 1 status if you don't lose. But I don't know what, but they're in that March Madness type of thing. You win or go home, whatever. So keep pushing for it for them. Any of these local Niagara Falls, Buffalo people, and they get to be on that stage, I'm pushing for them to be able to. He said, yeah, they might play in Buffalo for the opening round, and that's the thing too. I was like, damn, they do have the games going on. I was
Yeah,
like, damn,
Buffalo, yeah, Buffalo's
like
also
I
supposed
need to
to
be
run
there
there.
for a weekend. I need to be there in March because even when I worked at Bryan and Stratton, when they would start having them games down there, I never attended none of these March Madness games, which is crazy to me. And that's my favorite time of the year for sports. So I'm gonna have to find a way. Like, yo, I'm gonna be at
That'd be
these.
cool as hell, man.
I'm
It
gonna have to
really
be
would.
there.
Just to see a local homegrown, and shout out to his parents, man. They've done a magnificent job. I know he went to and shout out to Carlos too, man. There's been a lot of people to have at least had some hand in his stewardship, and this is not to prolong the show, but when we talk about Niagara Falls athletics, particularly basketball, we going back about 40 years. And I kid you not, to those 80s, 85, 86, when Lisa really started to get traction. And not to be outdone, Trot Vocational High School, which is no longer open, as well as Niagara Falls High School Power Cats. All 3 of these schools in the city. And matter of fact, I would be remiss if I left out. No, you can't get up there, boy. You want to say hi? Say hi, but you can't get up there. And I would be remiss if I didn't include Niagara Catholic, because all these teams, all these schools, made sure that the basketball talent played. You go to Biddy basketball, where a lot of these players, especially in that high school Lake Cell era, they developed and they cut their teeth on the floor. And it was like, look, this ain't nothing personal, but we gonna get in here, we gonna bang, we gonna elbow somebody. Hey, somebody might get a tooth dislodged, but we gonna ball. And that's where a lot of this stuff comes from.
Yeah. Well, Herb Cat said it's time to get off the damn show. Want to be consistent, and it's true, and that's the bottom line. You develop consistency and stuff over the years, and you build legacies, and you think about the '80s and '90s, and now you reach the point that people are on the national stage. That you got the Roddy Gale Juniors and all that stuff, and been part of the new NIL deals, whatever, that set up situations for his family. That's what it's about. Legacy building, things up, making sure your people is in a better situation that you in, whether it's from you going to college, whether it's you in the military, whether you in a job. It's setting things up for the future for we can continue to prosper and do better. That's it. We out of here. On to the next one. Everyone, enjoy the sun, enjoy the weather. And I hate to be a downer, but it's going to be some storm. This is the calm before the storm, before because it's going to be one more. One more in Buffalo, and here, or even in Maryland, whatever. I believe it's going to be one more. I could be wrong. Hopefully, I am wrong, but I just think like, oh, this might be fool's gold. But hey, ain't like I'm gonna go out there reckless and be with. I seen somebody today as I was driving, like when I hit Baltimore because I came from Niagara Falls and they had on a wife beater. I was like, oh, don't get ridiculous. You get ridiculous now, whatever. Already they converted it to a wife beater walking around. Dude, this, but then again, it is. It's gonna be 70 something. Then I think toward the end of the week it's gonna hit in the 50s. So that's a drastic increase for y'all people. So don't come with shorts and wife beaters and all that stuff because the weather is going it's going to change. Then you'll have to be sick as a dog somewhere. Uh, so stay consistent with you wear and think weather related because I'm still having my long sleeve. I'm still gonna have on a coat or whatever because I know it's gonna get cooler later on. I don't know. Maybe that's a myth. Like, that don't matter or whatever. That don't keep prevent you from anything. I don't know. That's something I probably was always taught. So with that said, we out. On to the next one. Everybody, see you next time.
Be
Peace.
easy.